Welcome to Submission Fishing Live. I'm your host, Muto. How's everybody doing tonight? It's Soleil's bedtime. Say goodnight, Soleil. She wanted to see everybody before she went to bed. Wave goodbye. And she goes to sleep. The future fishing champion of the world. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Another beautiful Thursday. Arnie, first one in the Arnie, new member. Thank you for joining, Arnie. I really appreciate it. Welcome to the club. Are you a new member or did you just renew? Either way, thank you so much. Thank you for supporting the show. Leonard Oos, what's going on, man? Welcome. Glad you could join us. Captain Dan, North County. That's right, man. Iron Fish, Oos, what's going on, man? Glad you could join us. Renew, awesome. Hey, man, we'll take it. Take the renew. Thank you very much. Let's see. Today, had a pretty good show. You know, the usual stuff. We'll go over the kind of some announcements, Instagram questions, stuff like that. And then our main topic today is kind of why big fish are hard to catch. You know, there's more than just like they're a pain in the ass to catch. There's lots of scientific reasons. You know, there's reasonings behind it. So we're going to go over some of those and then kind of what we can do to beat the odds or put the odds in our favor as far as catching the big fish, especially with some tournaments coming up. You know, Spotty Bowl and a lot of like bass tournaments are coming in, and there's some caveats too to the big fish catching, and we'll go over that, like why I think some fish are actually easier to catch when they're larger and some aren't. But yeah, we'll get to all that stuff later on. And yeah, should be a good show. If you guys have any questions, obviously in the live chat, let us know. Carlos, what's going on, man? Not much. Yeah, good night to the little one. Saturday. I was annoying you with. Oh no, dude, it's all good. I appreciate the questions, man. I never get tired of those things. Oos Fishing Reps, what's going on, man? Glad you could join us. Pohukai Oos, welcome to the show. Yeah, usually she's in bed by now, but for some reason she was still up, so we got the rare treat of seeing her up. Usually every night, like I read her a book, we say our prayers and stuff like that. So Thursday's the only night she doesn't get it typically. Let's see. News-wise, let's see as far as announcements and stuff. Oh yeah, we had the BNS event the CCA put on for the toy drive. That was last weekend. That was super cool. We saw Arnie there, Captain Dan. For those of you guys that don't know, CCA is like a conservation group. A member right here. We talked about it last week. You know, they combat a lot of nonsense that we deal with here in California, shutting down our fisheries, stealing our land, stuff like that. So, you know, we always talk about being just a good community, and fishermen got to be good stewards of community. Just in general, that show we're not, you know, we get painted as the enemy so often, especially here in California, and hunters are the same. And it's good doing things like the toy drive. And it was such a good turnout, man. Lots of good prizes. There was like a CCA podcast. You guys go check that out. Doc Talk was there, Doc Talk podcast. So they had kind of a special thing going on for the show. So definitely go give that a listen. And thank you for everybody that came out. And it was cool getting to meet some of you guys. Most of you all met before, but like Benji came out, Danny Perez came out, Iron Fish was out there, and Andrew I met. Just a lot of cool dudes. So thank you guys for coming out, supporting, dropping something off, and it's always cool seeing you guys at these events. So I really appreciate that. It was a pretty big success. So that was a good event, and just thank you. That's pretty much what I wanted to say as far as that goes. 10 and 15 grams, guys. I know last week we announced them. We've Slow Death Jigs. We've got, sorry, my cat's here. Just, it's like her new thing is jumping in my lap. Just trying to sleep all day. So if you hear her meowing in the mic, 10 and 15 grams, the guys are on sale. The website, we were having issues with it last week, but we got that all sorted out. So we got new sizes in the Sumo and the Assassin, and new colors as well. So everything's up and running. Get those while you can. We got a couple tackle stores got them here in San Diego. Dana Landing's got them. If you guys are up in like Orange County, LA, Island Tackle and Fisherman's Access has got them as well. So yeah, get them, guys. We got kind of limited release. It was kind of a small run, so get them while you can. Winter fishing, freshwater fishing, whenever you need those small lures, definitely go check that out. Let's see here. Andres, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show. Captain Dan says we raise a lot of food and toys for Camp Pendleton family. Yeah, thank you guys. Salty Dangler, Oos, welcome to the show. Benji, what's going on, man? Glad you could join us. Dario, what's going on, dude? Oos. Oh yeah, the small jigs of the bomb. Stimulate. What's going on, man? Big fish are hard to catch because they got huge nets. Big fish are hard to catch because they've got huge nets. I don't know about that one. They got big nuts and they cannot lie. Did you say? Yeah, Island will have them. They're in stock. Their order shipped out a while ago. Not a while ago, last week. So they should be on there in the shelves or at least stocked up. So if we go check that out. Let's see. What else did we have? News wise, not too much in the news. One of the things I wanted to point out was like the Dungeness crab. You guys, they've been on hold. They're not really something we have down south. In Southern California, it's mostly sort of like a central Northern California. And what's interesting is how they're I'll put the link in here for you guys if you want to check it out. But fishing boats and stuff like that, they're kind of putting a hold on the Dungeness fishery because whales are coming through and stuff like that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with delaying fishing seasons and stuff when we're talking about like migrations and whale migrations and stuff like that. But it kind of goes line in line or hand in hand with like the hypocrisy that we were dealing with. If you guys didn't watch last week's show, we talked about how they're taking 500 square miles of our fishing, not just fishing, just of the ocean in general. Even if you don't fish, if like you're a conservationist or anything, I mean, it should make you maddening. But when there's whale migration patterns or something coming through an area, they have no problem putting the brakes on fishermen, right? Because it's going to disrupt the migration or whatever it is. But at the same time, they're going to go destroy basically the ocean bottom, put in cables and demolish 500 square miles off of our coast to put in wind farms, and nobody hears about it, right? So it's what's crazy is what pisses me off. It's the same people. It's the same people shutting down the fisheries for these things, claiming they're doing it for whales or conservation, but then they turn a blind eye for something that's legitimately like 100 times worse than it would be like for fishing for Dungeness crab. It's just crazy. So not that stopping the fishery for Dungeness is a bad thing. It's just pointing out the hypocrisy of why it's bad when we do it, but it's okay when somebody else does it on a much larger scale. Stuff just kind of pisses me off. So go look into that last show if you guys want to check it out. But yeah, they've already been kind of delayed, but they're still doing it. I guess the entanglements with humpback whales and stuff like that off of the coast. So it's definitely a problem. But you're never going to hear about that when the wind farms go up. Only when fishermen do it. So definitely go check out that article, guys, if you want more on it. Yeah, audio is out of sync at all, or is it just me? Oh, not again. It strikes again. How bad is it? The whole drag in the bottom issue for 10 years. I'll go again. Yeah. Doug Sueño, Oos, welcome to the show. DJB, Oos, glad to be here. Glad you're here, man. Glad you could join us. The audio might be out of sync, guys. I do apologize for that. It's been an ongoing issue. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's not. I can cover the face and then you'll just never know. I put the mask on. What did we do last time? Put the mic up over so you can't tell when it's delayed. That works too. So we'll go through it. Let's see. Yeah, news-wise, I think that was all that I had. We had some Instagram questions we'll get through. We had some interesting ones, and I'd like to see you guys weigh in on some of these things. Let's see here. We had Flynn Leohard His question was just spotty fishing. And I feel like we've talked so much about spotty fishing that we could literally just go on forever about spotty fishing. But honestly, if you watch some of the earlier shows, guys, um, we talked about spotty fishing so much, especially if you follow like Bay Fishing with Roman and Brian on Wednesdays. They do a live show as well. That's kind of the thing. Our topic today is honestly really based around fishing, fishing for spotties and stuff like that, or mostly bay fish, spotty fish, and stuff like that. That we'll go with the hack fish. We'll fix that delay. Um, but yeah, it's funny how they kind of go hand in hand with the catching of the big fish. So we'll go over those things. Spotty bull is coming up, so definitely guys look into that. And yeah, if you have any specific questions about spotty fishing, we can get into those. But it's such a broad topic. I mean, we can probably do 100 shows based on that. One thing that I will say, if you want spotty advice, if I can give you like one spotty tip, would be to don't stick around one spot. You need to search for spotties. If you don't fish the same dock or the same area or the same patch of grass over and over and over and over and over again, hoping that you're going to suddenly catch a spotty, because they're just not going to happen. We did like a spotty deep dive. Spotties like to congregate. They live together, and they tend to be in certain areas and then they leave areas. So if they're not there and they're not biting, just don't waste your time. You're not typically suddenly going to get a bite. So spotty fishing advice is you got to look for them, because then once you find them, they're usually there. When there's one, there's more. And not only that, when there's a big one, there's typically other big ones as well. Because as we know, we've seen footage and other studies and stuff like that, is that they tend to group together by size. So small ones live together and large ones live together. The big ones don't like the little ones around, and stuff like that. So, and I think they're pretty territorial. Big ones don't mess with the other big ones, but they kick the little ones out. So when you find spotties, what's interesting is that when you find a certain size, you'll keep finding the certain size. Like when you find dinks, I swear that's all you're gonna catch is like dink after dink after dink. When you start catching big ones, you'll find the big ones like in the same spots over and over. So just keep looking. Don't just stay in one spot. I think that's, if I can give you like one piece of advice, is keep moving until you find them. And then when you do find them, just fish that area pretty hard. Because if there's one, there's probably two or three, and then move on to really the next spot. DJB, dude, $20. Cute baby fun. Thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna have to put that in her piggy bank. Yeah, mask up. Yeah, we're doing the microphone cheat. Is it like 20-second delay or like 2-second delay? Hey man, I really appreciate that though. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Helps keeps the lights on in the show. Custom tasty lean cod a couple weeks ago. Hell yeah, dude. Battered and cooked it. Chinese salt and pepper. Nice. What boat were you on? Or were you like on a private boat? Let's see here. Other Instagram questions. Oh, this was a good one from Carlos. I see you in the chat, dude. This was your question. You said, and I'd like to hear your guys' answer. What species of fish would you fish for the rest of your life if you had to pick only one? And that's such a hard question. But I did think about this, so I've got a little bit of a head start on you guys, but I'm curious to see what your answers are. Right now, I would say probably yellowfin tuna would be on my list. For a couple reasons. I think they're fun to catch. They eat jigs like crazy. They're not finicky like bluefin. They taste good. They're fun to catch, and you can still get the big ones. And they fight like hell. I mean, big yellowfin, you can still find them, especially if you go down deeper into Mexico and stuff. And they have a hell of a fight. They have big tails, so they fight like hell. They're good eating, and they're just fun fish. I would have said bluefin or something, but and I've had so many rough days catching bluefin. If you're going yellowfin fishing and they're out there, you're probably going to catch yellowfin. So that's right now. I'd say yellowfin. Like I said, that could probably change anytime, any year, but I always just have a blast going out catching some yellowfin tuna. I bet we got a lot of bass guys in here. Bite says calico. Yeah, dude. Calicos are fun as hell. For sure. And then if you look at it like that way too, because realistically, if you're saying yellowfin, I do limit myself to it's seasonal, right? I'd only be able to fish probably like summer and stuff like that, and sometimes not even at all. And like year before last, the yellowfin fishing wasn't that good. This year was pretty good. But 2 years ago it was great. Last year was like hit or miss. But yeah, calicos, dude, that's a good one because calicos and they're all they're all always around. They're in the kelp. They're always at La Jolla. They're outside of Point Loma. Like that's a good one. I know there's gonna be a lot of bass guys in there. Max mackerels. There you go, dude. Yeah, those mackerel. They're never gonna let you down. Whenever you need to like, we talked about this, right? Like, our mackerel, do they count as breaking a skunk, or do we not even count bait fish and mackerel? If you've been out having a hard day and you catch a mackerel, do you count it, or are you like, oh, I'm still skunked? Mackerel's like the skunk buster fish when you just need to break one. You went out on a private out of Santa Cruz, nice. Jigging the rockfish like a mofo, 250 gram. Chesapeake couture jigs, like $5 each. Nice. Weren't you the ones getting like what's it called? The Daiso jigs. Yeah, dude, those are funny. I've seen those too. Good stuff. Largemouth, yeah, can go anywhere in the country and fish. Yeah, that's true. I've never caught a largemouth in my life. If I was a freshwater guy, I might change my mind. I know we get a lot of different answers. A fish is a fish. Some would disagree. Not all fish are created equal. Yellowtail and an iron would be my choice. Yellowfin tuna, lately a good way to make a limit. Yeah, yellowtail are fun too. But yellowtail, yeah, they can just be like so finicky. Yellowfin just because it's so damn easy to catch. If they're footballs, I count them. What, the max? Big old fat ass mackerels? Oh, it counts. Okay, I agree with you. I mean, it's still a fish, right? Leonard says you got to count it, but tell everybody it's a mackerel. That's funny. It's like put the disclaimer in there, the qualifier. That's pretty funny. I got so tired of Max. But Mom's Korea. I've never had one to eat, but I've heard they're good. It's one of those fish I got to try for myself. Mac lives matter. That's funny. Yeah, dude, I'm slacking on my freshwater game. Even when I freshwater fish, I fish for trout for some reason. I think because I just used to stock the lakes up where I live, so that's just what I fish for. I gotta have somebody take me out. I need to find somebody that is like really good bass fisherman. Try to get some on these 10 and 15 gram jigs for sure. Get them while you can. All right, guys. Before we get into our topic, I do have one more. Just something to say to you guys, like not too heavy or something like that, but just it was about life. Life is like just too short to fish, guys. Or not. Life is too short to not fish. Um, I just want to give a tribute. So, anyways, you guys know like I've been missing shows and stuff like that. So basically, my mom passed away Tuesday. Um, Here at my house, she was living with me. She had stage 4 cancer, and she ultimately was the one that got me into fishing. And it was her side of the family, and she used to love to fish too. And she fished when she was young, and even like a year ago, I took her out on the Malahini with my company trip, and she was still out there fishing. Um, and she did a header into the bait tank, I remember, and she didn't even bitch. She didn't say anything. She had like this bruise on her cheek, and she was just out there, still in her 60s, throwing baits out and stuff like that. Um, yeah, she had stage 4 cancer. She was on hospice here. Um, it was a rough, last couple months and stuff. She was living here and just back and forth, taking her to the hospital and stuff. But she passed away Tuesday, and it was for the best. She was in a lot of pain. She was suffering. So it was one of those things that was like, really, it was a blessing. Um, but she stuck to her guns till the end. She was still pretty young, like in her mid 60s, but just got her. So if you guys, if you need, um, think you have something wrong with you, she was really late to getting it addressed. It had gone too far. By the time she was even diagnosed, it spread into her organs and her bones and stuff like that. So it was, I only found out about it recently, like 2 months ago, and this was something she was dealing with for a long time, just never had it looked at. So she hit it really well and just really declined fast. Um, we got to just go out and get help. She kind of went too young. And with that being said, it puts into perspective how short life is, and don't don't miss the things in life that really matter. And fishing is one of them. I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but nobody dies on their deathbed thinking, I should have worked one more day, or I wish I put in more hours, or I wish I would have made more money, or anything like that. It's usually people's biggest regrets is they didn't do things. They didn't go see the things that they wanted to see. You're never going to regret going and fishing one more time. You're never going to regret going on a vacation or something like that. But um, so as I say, life's too short to not fish. And you hear these things like if you're don't go into financial ruin, or anything. Be smart about it. But you guys go buy the kayak. You know, if you can afford a boat and you're going to use it, go buy the boat. I know me and Brian likes to fish. I talked about that too. It's like don't wait until you're so old that you can't enjoy these things. Something I've been aware of for a long time. My own kind of mortality. I know how short life is, and you see these things, and that's why I try to get after it like every day and do things, take risks. We're gonna go, man. So I fish as much as I can, mostly because it's something I enjoy and it's not gonna last forever. And when someone close to you passes, it's like it's just puts it into perspective that we don't have much time on this earth, and all your money and all your stuff, like you can't take it with you. But the experiences are what you have. Experiences are what matter. And I've had so many great memories fishing, and even fishing with my mom. It's funny, and my dad's not a fisherman. He never took me fishing. He's so I don't know if, like, has ever fished to this day. I think he has like once or twice somebody's taken him out, but it was funny as my mom was the fisherman. And her side of the family was she grew up in Huntington. She grew up on boats. Um, and it was funny. She kind of passed it on. She wasn't like hardcore, but um, she definitely took me on my first saltwater fishing trip when I was young with the family. So um, I really appreciate that. And those are some of my greatest memories as a kid were going fishing. And my mom would take me fishing we'd drive out there. We'd meet up with my uncles, my grandpa. We'd go out to Davies Locker in Newport, and deep sea fishing was like when I was young. It was honestly like the highlight that I can always look forward to. And that was something she instilled in me. But I just want to pass that on, guys. It's life is short. Just get out there and live it. Don't worry about the stupid stuff that just really doesn't matter. You got to go out and make the memories and enjoy your life, and the memories fishing. So some of my best memories are fishing. I'm gonna go out there and fish as much as I can. I'd rather die saying I fished as much as I wanted to fish and I never missed a day fishing. I don't think I'm gonna regret saying that I fished too much or did too much jujitsu or worked out too much. Doing the things that you enjoy. What you will regret is laying down dying, just working your ass until your bone, working your fingers to the bone and never took time to really enjoy it. So that's all I had to say about that. Because my mom, honestly, she loved the show. You guys know she was in here. She'd always type "oos." Um, she loved you guys. She was in here usually every Thursday. She was part of the chat. She just liked watching it. She liked being a part of it. So um, yeah, I mean that's that. I wish it was all over. I mean now some of the big stuff starts. We gotta being the executor for a wheel. Now we gotta clean up the house, figure all that stuff out. Like it's a whole nother whole nother adventure we got to do. But yeah, even on that end, she wants. Oh yeah, one other thing I want to ask. Her one request was she wanted to be buried at sea. So I have some emails out to burial at sea. But if you guys know anybody that does like the burial at seas, I know you need permits and stuff like that. It's not you can't just like hop on a boat and scatter them. I mean, you could if you're just like a couple of you guys, but I've reached out to a few places. But if any of you guys have experience or know any boats that are good, um, they do the burial at seas, let me know. Um, I'll definitely take some recommendations and go dump those ashes out there. Thank you guys, for all the love. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean you can, but it's hard, man. But you just do those things, man. Just go out. You got to go out and do it. You know. I do appreciate you guys for all your good words. Steve Mendoza, Oos. John Escobar, Oos. Both my parents suffered illness for a long time. It was sad, but they, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and she liked fishing, man. It was crazy. Um, Whenever I went out, I think she honestly liked boats and water. I think more than the fishing itself. She definitely loved being out there. Carl Black, Oos, welcome to the show. You did that at the sea. Does Bill do the burials at sea? I'll have to contact him. Oh, he does. Maybe I'll reach out to Bill. Burial at sea oceans. Yeah, because like I contacted a few places, but a lot of them hadn't even gotten back to me. Like one place did. And I was like, that was cool, but yeah. Yeah, dude, she was always in the chat. It was crazy. She loved it. Even, because she stayed with me. She was on hospice and she was here at my house. I mean, I was feeding her, changing the diapers, the whole thing, but we'd put it on and she'd always be like, "Oh, is your show on tonight?" And she'd be down there and she'd watch the show and we put it on for her and she always kind of looked forward to it. I don't know, it was the fishing so much. I'm 40 years old, right? But your mom's always your mom. I think it was just she just liked seeing me doing something. I think that was her biggest. She liked that more than anything. I think more than the actual fishing. But you guys were always cool to her. So thank you. I appreciate that. You guys always said what's up to her. So that's awesome, guys. Thank you so much. And I'll reach out to some of you guys as far as the burial at sea. So I mean that's over with. Just wanted to let you guys know. Just get out there and fish, man. Just do what you love to do. Don't wait. Don't be the I wish I did that. Get your ass out there. Like I said, pull the trigger on the kayak, guys. If you're like you'll love it so much. Just getting out there, any little thing like that's going to get you out a little more. Just definitely go out and do it for sure. All right, moving on. Let's see. We did have another Instagram question here, and then we'll get into the main topic. I like Rito asked recommended colors, most reliable fishing, shore fishing setups, and reliable fishing kayak setups. As far as colors go, I just when it's murky out, I like glow. I'm not too concerned with colors. I try to match. I like to use like the luminescence and the glow on the jigs and stuff when it's kind of when the water's dirty. When the water is actually really clear, I like throwing jigs that don't have the glow on it, either the golden black or like just that live bait color. I don't know if it's the glow's too distracting. As far as reliable setups, I'm not sure. You want like reliable as far as like works well, or like reliable is going to catch fish. That's another one. It all depends what you're throwing and fishing for. If you're just looking for gear and stuff, um, I mostly use Penn stuff. I got everything Daiwa Okuma, but um, yeah, the pen's always been kind of my go-to. If I'm not sure what to get, I usually buy something like that. Just they're not super refined, but there's just like they're workhorses, and they this is like always works. So it's always appreciate that. Yeah, salty. Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. Really trying to get the spousal approval on a Bayliner or a Mako. Think I better man up. Have that discussion. Yeah, dude. I mean, if you can get the memories out of it, right? Like if you can take her out, take the kids out, or just if you use it's totally worth it, man. Like how many people can do something like that? And you don't be stupid and don't break the bank, but trust me, there's a lot of unimportant shit you can get rid of in your life to afford a boat or something like that. I guarantee you there is if you wanted to make it happen. If I'm just saying, if that's something that really was interesting you and you're like, oh, I wish I had a boat, you don't even have to get a nice one. You can get something used just to get you out on the water and fish. And it's great. You don't even need nice stuff, but just getting out there and trust me, there's sacrifices you can make to do it. Don't wait. That's the point. Even if it's not buying a boat or a kayak, just go out, right? Don't get bogged down or get too tired. It's like, yeah, you know where I'm gonna go. Whether it's the shore pounding or whatever. Just go out there and fish. All right, guys. Yeah, there are, especially like right now for sure. Have I paid a visit to the male Karen? I went out there. He didn't come out though. I fished that area. It's been like a month or two ago. Yeah, I went and hit the docks, but he didn't come out. I don't think he knows me or anything, but I don't go without looking for trouble. But if I want to fish the docks, I'm gonna go fish him. I mean, I'm not gonna try to avoid the guy. But yeah, he hasn't come and said what's up lately. But that guy is notorious because a lot of people on this chat told me that asshole has come out and yelled at a lot of these guys. And I'm thinking is he yells at a lot of the guys, and a lot of them, not saying you guys, but I think he probably yells at a lot of kayakers, and a lot of them leave, and that's why he gets away with it. So just don't leave. He has no legal right. You can legally fish there. It's your right to fish. Nobody owns the water, and be cool with it, right? You don't have to cuss at him or anything. Let him be the asshole. But yeah, Mel Karen, I haven't seen in a while. Been looking at used boats lately. Offer Up and Craig's. Yeah, there you go, dude. Yeah, 100%. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's always been my mindset, dude. I want to be like 80 years old, finally retiring and being like, oh, I'm gonna get that boat, and you can't even you can't even get on it anymore. That sucks, man. You see like these old guys in these super nice sports cars, and they're driving 30 miles an hour, and they finally got that car, but their faculties and this stuff aren't even there to drive it like it should be driven. It's a shame, right? What do they say? Youth is wasted on the young. And we're getting all philosophical here, but it's so true. It's like when you're old, you got, whether time or money, and when you're young, it's like you've got the money but not the time. It's a cruel cycle, man. It's a cruel cycle. Is it true fishermen are protected? Something about they can't be harassed. Yeah, I put up there is a code. Was it 619 or something? One of the guys in here probably know it. It's yeah, you can't legally harass fishermen or hunters. In order to like press charges or something, they actually have to like prevent you from fishing. I think a lot of it is set up because like they can't bar you, like if you're hunting, right, or fishing, like the tree huggers or PETA or whatever, they can't like stop you. They can't cut your lines, or stop you, or physically prevent you from fishing, or do something to like physically prevent it. I think that's where you would get into like them running into problems with the law. But yeah, it is illegal to harass fishermen as well. So somebody coming out and yelling at you, you can't like have them arrested or anything like that. As long as they're not physically like pushing your kayak off of a dock or something. But they have no right to come out and even say that. Even if they call the police or something. Hopefully the harbor police are smart enough and understand the law, but even that's not a given. you know. But yeah, stick to your guns, man. Don't let the Karens tell you what to do. As long as you know you're not fit, right? If you're knowingly fishing somewhere illegal, be nice about it and leave. Right? If you're on a dock, a private dock, you're not supposed to be fishing there, because then that's the reverse, right? Like, don't just apologize and leave. But if you're in the right, yeah, don't give up your rights just because somebody decided to be a dick. That's what I'm talking about, man. Some old timer, man. He's doing it right. That guy's doing it right. Some people do. Some of us get it right for sure. My boat is functional, not pretty, but reliable and well equipped. It was in the water for years before I got it. Yeah. But how happy are you that you bought the boat? I mean, you've been on boats your whole lives, but it's like, do you regret getting it? The only people that regret getting them are the ones that like don't use them. If you buy it and it sits, obviously it's like, I feel like if you're in the chat here though, and you fish, if you're in the chat or you're watching this like on YouTube or the replay, I'm assuming you like fishing enough that you probably enjoy a boat. I guess the guys that get them and just never get on it again, that's a whole different story. But yeah, but even the kayak, I think a lot of guys, Even the kayak they're high priced Hobies and stuff. You don't have to get a Hobie. There's Old Town. It's a big investment, but trust me, guys, it's still worth it. I mean, kayak, you guys can swing a kayak. Trust me. Even if you got to save up for it, I think it's definitely worth working towards. After my mom passed, my dad's 67 is blowing through cash like mad. He realized he can't take the money with him. Yeah, it's true. Unless you like pass it on, you like to leave things to your children for sure. But yeah, my mom was kind of like that. She was like bitching about, you know, worrying about like the stupidest things, like stupid bills or like having to pay for stuff. I'm like, Mom, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. You whatever you want, we'll get it for you. Or like she didn't want to spend money on stuff. I'm just like, you get whatever you want. The hell with the money. Like, now's not the time to be pinching pennies. You get whatever you want right now. Yeah, used Hobies for sure. JDM, I've done them. I bought a 9.9 horsepower new, and I don't use it. Got to get on it, man. Go use that thing. All right, guys, we'll get on to the topic here. We'll stop BSing about all this other stuff. Let's see. So the topic today is why big fish are hard to catch. And what's interesting is there are actual a lot of scientific reasons behind it. It's not just when we catch big fish, it's sort of a unique thing because not everybody does it, or we've all got our PBs. We always look for the PB. And when you guys fish long enough, they don't come along very often. When you catch a big fish, you know it too, because um, you go through so many small ones, and it's like, and then as you fish long enough, a lot of us we don't even care when we catch the small ones because we're just on the hunt for the big ones now. Um, where sometimes you catch so many dink spotties, and it's like they don't even register. You're just throwing them back, throwing them back, throwing them back, because you're just looking for the big ones, and the little ones start to lose their luster. But big ones are hard to catch. There's some things we can do, and this doesn't go for all fish. So the fish that I'm talking about are typically fish that live in areas that don't really move. Kelp beds, docks, lakes are a big one. This probably applies to freshwater fish, probably more so than even saltwater fish. Um, fish that are caught and released, that are targeted for game, that really live in the same zones. We can get into more of that later, but like pelagics, I think are like an exception to this rule because pelagics, they travel and they don't apply to a lot of these things, and a lot of people just catch them. They're not released. Typically, they're when somebody catches a big tuna, you keep it and you eat it or whatever it is. So some of the rules to pelagics and the fish that move and migrate don't apply to some of these things. These are mostly fish that stay at home. They live in certain zones and stuff like that. A lot of the tournament fish, bass and stuff like that. Um, yeah, and one of my first points was the catch and release. Is a thing. Um, there's this article here that I'll pull up for you guys. This was just in Wikipedia, but there was because I was studying like fish memories. So one thing we were always curious about was, um, let me share my screen here. Is like do fish have memories in their brains and stuff like that? One of the things that we've kind of learned was like fish have short term memories, but I don't really think that that's the case. I was looking at other studies and I found stuff here. And you can see like individual carp captured by anglers have been shown to become less catchable thereafter. This suggests that they use their memories of negative experiences to associate capture and stress and therefore become less easy to catch. This type of associate learning has also been shown in paradise fish, which avoid where they've experienced a single attack by a predator and continue to avoid those areas for months. For months, or probably more. Goldfish, let's see here. Anecdotally, what channel catfish can remember a human voice call announcing food 5 years after last hearing the call. That's a long time. Goldfish remember the color of tube dispensing food 1 year after the last tube presentation. Sockeye salmon still react to a light signal that precedes food arrival upon 8 months since the last reinforcement. Some common rudd and European chub could remember the person who trained them to feed from their ham even after 6 month break. Crimson spotted rainbow fish can learn to escape from a thrall swimming through a small hole in the center. And they remember this technique 11 months later. Rainbow trout can be trained to press a bar to get food, and then remember this 3 months later after last seeing the bar. Red Sea clownfish can recognize their mate 30 days after it was experimentally removed from home. Let's see. Several fish species are capable of complex spatial relations and forming cognitive maps. They can orient themselves using multiple landmark signals, and they're able to integrate these experiences, which enable appropriate avoidance response. And I'll put this in the chat for you guys. Like I said, this is just a Wikipedia thing, but what this has to do with catching the big ones is we kind of assume, and you hear this a lot, that fish have short memories, but it's not really the case. It wasn't really studied, and I was looking into that, and I think that was just kind of like a wives' tale that we've all lived on. There was kind of this notion people thought that fish didn't have a memory at all, like, oh, it was just erased, or they couldn't remember 5 minutes after something happened. But that's really not true, and that really comes into one of the reasons as to why the big fish are hard to catch. So once we're dealing with catch and release fish, if a fish was caught, again, we call it the alien abduction, right? You imagine it bit into something, get yanked out of the water, is outside the water, just flopping around on a deck, hanging from a hook. Probably pretty traumatic. Couldn't breathe, suffocating, out in the air. It's getting measured, handled, for God knows how long. And then if it's lucky, it gets released and put back into the water. That's a pretty traumatic experience. Now, a fish, it's going to remember that. It's probably going to remember what it got bit on, what it got stung by, and how it got the alien abduction in the first place. So that's one of the first things as to why the big fish are harder to catch, because even when they're young, every time you catch a fish and you catch it more and more, it's going to learn what caught it, what it looked like. Was it a natural bait? Was it a shiny thing? It's definitely going to become more and more shy the more times it's been stung by a certain bait. And we'll go about kind of counteract some of these things, or we can go through it, as we go. But yeah, so as far as the baits go, we'll just cover that, I guess, right away. And so one of the things we can do to counteract this is really throwing something different. And this is where you hear, like, sometimes some of the fish get hard to catch with the same thing over and over. Like there's a super popular bait that everybody uses, like a drop shot or something like that, and suddenly it stops working a certain way. It's probably because the fish has been caught once or twice. Maybe you catch the small ones. Now you catch the dinks. Let's spotted bay bass fishing, for example. There's areas you can go and you catch the small ones all day on anything because they haven't been caught yet. They haven't been stung yet. They haven't been pulled up yet. They haven't had the abduction yet. But as they grow, once they're caught once, they've been hit by the drop shot or this funky looking worm, right? They're probably not going to go for that again, at least anytime soon. You got to think, if this fish has been caught multiple times and released, by the time it gets older, it's going to get harder and harder and harder to catch. So this is one of the factors why they get harder to catch. But that leads into throwing different things that they haven't seen, switching up colors, switching up sizes, switching up worms, slow jigging if they haven't seen it. I think that's why, like, slow pitch jigging has worked so well, for example, is it's not a technique that's really been known so much. Nobody's really been using it for the fish. I think as the years go on, you're going to have to move new different techniques, because if they get used to that, you're going to have to throw different sizes, different colors. That's where it comes in. If you're just throwing the same thing that, like, kind of everybody else is throwing. So a lot of people have their secrets, right? Their colors, their sizes. If you're using a lot of the same stuff, it can be harder to catch, I think. And again, some of this is all theory, right? We don't really know, but you definitely got to think they do have longer memories than we think they do. So catching these fish once they've been caught, it's going to be harder to catch them on the same thing. And those studies have shown it, right? Where the carp, once they've been caught, they don't go off after the same thing again. They kind of get gun shy. So that's something to think about. And then there's just point number two is there's less of them. So on top of the number one is that now they've seen these things, there's less fish. Um, a lot of bass aren't caught anymore, but you guys have to understand that that's a relatively new thing. Even in bass fishing tournaments, people used to catch the bass all the time, and they'd keep them, or they'd bring them dead up to the weigh station. Um, People used to eat like the spotted bay bass all the time. Calicos were like another thing. I still eat calicos, by the way, so don't hate me, guys. Not always. I release a lot of them, but I'll keep a decent legal every now and then. I think they're okay. Um, but a lot of these sport fish, um, they just and pretty much everybody releases spotties now, but that wasn't always the case. People used to keep the spotties. People used to keep the calicos, largemouth bass. Um, and this is a relatively new practice, which I think is helping the population grow the big ones a little bit, but that wasn't always the case, guys. I mean, back in the day, you hear about the 17, 20-inch spotties. Well, there's less of them because fishing is so much more popular as well. That back in the 70s, 80s, even 90s, it's like spotty fishing wasn't like as popular as it is. The largemouth bass wasn't as popular. Fishing is more popular than it's ever been, and a lot of these numbers just got eaten up. So the ones that can actually grow big, just few and far between. You have age to deal with. Um, they get old, they die, and then just surviving predators, especially in saltwater. I don't think it's when you're largemouth bass, you're kind of king of the pond or the lake, for example. You don't have too many predators. You're talking spotties. It was sea lions eat spotties. Um, Other big fish eat spotties. I mean, you've got like octopus, sea lions, birds. You have so many predators in the saltwater. Um, Dolphins. So you're dealing with calicos, yellowtail, right? You're swimming through the kelp, eating calicos. Um, Dolphins eating calicos, sea lion. You have all these other factors, especially in saltwater, that no, the numbers just aren't there. They have to survive all these years. A fish that survives that is already smart as hell, right? It's probably already in hiding. So something that's going to survive. So we've got, they're harder to catch because the more they've been caught, the smarter they get. They've got brains bigger, not bigger, but the memory longer than we think it is. They've got the numbers is the problem. That's a huge problem. We don't have that many, um, just as far as life grows. And then, um, they have slower. So on top of all that, they have slower metabolisms, right? As these fish grow, they don't need to eat as much. Fish are cold blooded. All fish are cold blooded. I think, except the opa might be the only warm blooded fish. I might have that wrong, um, but all fish outside of that are cold blooded, and they just have some slower metabolisms. They grow fast. All these fish grow fast, but then once they get large, they really they don't just keep growing, right? A spotty doesn't grow till it's like 35 inches. Like they kind of hit this threshold, like 20-inch, 22-inch. You're like world record territory there, right? Once they kind of hit like that 15-inch, it's a slow grow. Once they hit that legal size is 14 inches, say on a spotty, and other fish in general too. Calicos can get bigger, sand bass get pretty big too, but once they hit like a certain length, the growth rate actually it slows down substantially, right? You're going to go. This thing grows from probably 8 inches to 14 inches in probably a year, 2 years. But to go from like 14 inches to 16 inches, you're talking like 5 years. Like the growth takes that much longer. So they don't need to eat as much. They're territorial animals. They don't really move. So you have that going against you as well. You've got less of them. They don't eat very much. They're harder to catch because they've probably been stung. And this is where when I talk about pelagics coming in, and this is why they're harder because the pelagic fish, it's reverse. And I think it's easier to catch large pelagics because pelagic fish, as they grow, they actually become hungrier because they're always moving. When we're dealing with fish like bay bass, freshwater bass, and all that, they live in zones. They live in kelp, calico do. Uh, the spotties live around docks, so they live in grass. They kind of have homes and they live there. Rockfish are really a lot of the same way. Um, but pelagics travel. So you get these giant 200, 300 pound tuna. That's a different story. These guys are always, always, always hungry because they don't stop. They don't live underneath a dock, right? 300 pound tuna doesn't live underneath a dock for 5 years. This thing is doing thousands of miles, just round trip, just swimming and eating. And who's catching a 200-pound tuna and releasing it? Does it happen? Yeah, it does, but not typically. That thing's going over, it's getting gaffed in the face. It's getting pulled over deck and it's getting eaten. So they don't have that opportunity to be caught and then thrown back. They're bigger. There's more of them. Same thing with yellowtail are the same way. Although a little more yellowtail get released, some of the small ones and stuff. But typically, there's a fish that you catch and you keep. And when they always roam around, they have to eat. So that's like one of the caveats to the big fish. When you're going for big tuna and stuff, your chances are a lot better. But a fish that stays home in its zone doesn't need to eat. It's not putting 1,000 miles. This thing's not swimming around the bay, around the docks, doing 50,000 laps, just working up an appetite. You know what that big old ass fish is doing? It's kicking it. And it's probably not very hungry. Um, and again, that comes into this is a whole nother theory as to, do you throw the big bait? Is it big bait, big fish? Is it small bait, little fish, little effort to catch the big one? That's the debate that can go on forever. And I think a lot of people would say you got to give it a big enough bait to catch a big enough fish that's going to make it actually move. So when this one comes down to the catching aspect, what can we do about the big fish that's just kicking it? Well, you have to give it a reason to move. If you're just throwing old tried and true, there's a good likelihood it's not going to work. You're bouncing that worm up and down. It's probably been caught already 3 times. It's not hungry. Probably doesn't want to eat the thing. You really gotta throw something special at these things. Either just a big ass bait or a fast bait, something that's going to entice it to you. You got to get a smart old lazy ass fish to come up and eat something. That is not easy, guys. And that's where these crafty fishermen really make it happen. To catch these big ones. So we got that going against us. We got the slow metabolism. We've got less, harder to catch because they've been caught. They're smarter than we think. And then we got one of the biggest things. So let's say we've got all this. Let me catch up on actually some of these chats right here. Been going to Alaska for 10 years, still chasing a 30-inch rainbow. I've hooked 2 that promptly took me to the root wads. Yeah, I'm broke. Yeah, so that's the next. Halibut eat spotties. That's another one, dude. It's crazy. There's so many predators in there. Nothing messes spotties top of the food chain. Yeah. I don't know. Spotties, yeah. Spotties are fighters. I feel like if I was a fish, spotty's probably not the number one fish I'd go after. They do fight, man. They're like feisty as hell. That's why we call them grumpy, right? Freshwater angler, man. That's a huge fish. Saltwater angler. Oh, look, my baby. Yeah, it's so true, dude. I know. I've seen some of those largemouth bass are pretty big, right? Florida anglers tossing a live bait at the dock, and they're like, "Oh, dude, those Goliath group are crazy." It's a big spotty who's waiting for a real big meal. We move to the colder season. There's not going to waste the energy. Yeah. It's funny but I've caught some of my biggest fish on tiny jigs. So it's like, put that together, right? Again, we go into a presentation maybe they haven't seen before. All right. So, anyways, good stuff, guys, by the way. Let's say we get all this together, right? We figured it out. So, this is one of the other big things about the failure and why the big fish are so hard to catch. We've got, so the catch and release, they've been caught. They're smarter than we think. They've been caught before. That's a problem. But we figured it out. We're throwing lures that are different. The old ones, the metabolism. So let's just say you use the big bait or the small lure or whatever it is, or you've been able to, let's just say you managed to hook the big one. Now, here comes the third problem is a lot of times we're not geared up or experienced enough to catch the big one when it does happen. And I know this has happened to everybody because catching the big fish is hard to catch. How many of you guys have caught the spotty and it starts to pull drag? And spotties normally don't pull drag. Well, when you get this big one that pulls drag and you're fishing at the docks, what happens? Now we're having gear failure. We're having line where we're not prepared for it. Let's say you're finesse fishing. You hook one up while you're using 5 pound, 7 pound line because you're trying to finesse fish and you hook a big one by chance. It hasn't seen this worm before. Well, now you got a problem because you're fishing for spotties and you get a 17 incher and he just turns and burns, wraps you around the piling, and he breaks off, right? How many of you guys, this happened to everybody. It's happened to me. It's happened to everyone. And then let's say you get it up to the boat and now do you know how to deal with this thing? You've got a 16 and a half fatty 3 pounder. And what do? Do you have a net? Did you bring a net with you? Or are you going to try to lift this thing up and you're going to watch it just pop off of the line? It shakes off and goes back into the water. These are things we've all deal with. So when you're hunting for spotties and you're hunting for big ones, you have to be prepared. If you're just fishing for spotties to have fun and you're not looking for the big one, that's one thing. You just want to go out there and catch. You're using the light line. But if you're looking for the lunkers, you have to be prepared to catch these lunkers. Especially if you're fishing at the docks, you have to be using heavier line. You got to make sure your drag is set right. So you got to have the mindset that you're going to catch the big fish and be ready for it. If you catch one of these things and you're not ready and you're not prepared, you're just going out to catch fish. But a lot of us, you're going into tournament fishing. These are things you have to think about. You're targeting big fish. You're using baits. You're using something different. I do slow pitch jigging, obviously. I'm throwing the slow death jigs out there. You bet your ass I'm using 20-pound monofilament on these jigs. And I can't tell you how many times that saved me fish. I've had them wrapped around pilings before and had been able to get them off because I was patient, kind of let them pull themselves off. I've been able to back my kayak up away from the piling and back it out and still be able to land the fish. And the leaders just chewed to hell, but it held on because it was a very thick mono leader. When they're in the water, keep them in the water. Don't try to bounce it. You got to bring a net with you. Get the net, keep it in the water. Don't pull its head out and just run the net underneath it, lift it up out of the water and you can land it. So if you're not expecting the big fish, it's a heartbreaker to do all these other things, or maybe just by dumb luck you caught one just to lose it. That absolutely sucks. And it's happened to me. It's happened to everyone. I've had one, where you hook up and it's just, you weren't ready for it. It takes off, wraps the piling, breaks you off. And it's like, you knew it was big just because that feel, right? When you're on the big fish. So the last thing that I just have to add is there is no easy fix to catching the big ones. You got to know, you got to use something different. You have to understand that the fish it's seen a lot of things. Think differently, know where to find them, know where to look for them. You got to throw something you think they're going to eat. Once you find that bait that is like perfect. But lastly, you have to be prepared for it, guy. Button the drag down, heavy mono, wind that thing up. You got to get it away from the pilings. The grass isn't such a big deal because there's not really so much they can run. You got a little bit of a better chance, but even then, they can twist up in the line and cut you off. But don't be afraid to go heavy. Practice using a net, getting them in. There's little things like that could really increase your chances of landing, especially if you're on a boat. If you're on a kayak, it's a little easier to bounce them because you can wind your hand around the line and it's a short distance from the water to the kayak. I've still lost them at the boat trying to lift them in. But when you're dealing with a boat and the farther you got to come up and over, you're just going to increase your chances of losing it. So get a net, practice the net, leave the head in the water. And not even for spotty so much. This is really important for like halibut for some reason. Don't ever lift the halibut out of the water. Keep it in the water, scoop it up. You'll land so many more fish. Just be patient. Don't let your nerves get the best of you. And you guys will definitely, I think, have a lot more success. Catching them will be one thing, but if I can leave you guys with one thing, is be prepared for the big ones. Get the right gear, set the drag. Don't be afraid to go a little bit heavy. I know some of you guys finesse fishermen are turning over in your graves right now with your 5-pound pink line, but Trust me, man. Those spotties, they tear that stuff up, man. Unless you really, really know what you're doing. But even then, I wouldn't chance it. Those things run into the pilings, it's game over. No boat flipping. I mean, you can. I flip stuff all the like if I'm just messing around, but that's the thing is if you're at least be prepared for it, right? If you didn't bring a gaff, like if not even a gaff or a net, like you gotta know, have one on your boat because you don't know, even if you're spotty fishing and you're gonna catch that big ass halibut or something comes wrong, you're gonna wish you had that net or something. There's nothing worse than looking around and realizing, oh, I didn't bring a gaff, I didn't bring a net. And then you get it all the way to the boat and you try to bounce that thing and it just you lift it up and lose it, man. It's happens to all of us. It's such a freaking heartbreaker. Big fish is time on the water too. The grind is very, yeah, for sure. Just statistically speaking, right? Like eventually they'll come, but yeah, you you got to grind for sure. I mean, it's if you throw a jig out a million times as opposed to 100 times, statistically speaking, yeah, you're gonna have a better chance of getting bigger fish for sure. And there is no replacement for that time on the water, definitely. Let's see. I saw another one in here. Big life bait builds big fish. Yeah, might take a while, but it works. Oh yeah, like you catch a big ass mackerel or a lizard fish, throw that thing down on a weight. It's like halibut city for sure. I know Oscar caught a monster like that. Dave Rage. Yeah, definitely. Big live baits do work. The one thing about the big baits too is little baits catch big fish, but they also catch little fish. So that's sort of the caveat to that, right? Little fish will eat the little bait, but big fish will eat the little bait too. But big bait, typically little fish won't eat the big bait. So you'll get kind of a lot less fish. And but that's kind of where a lot of like experienced fishermen are, or when you fish so much and you've caught like so many fish, you get to a point where you're only fishing large baits because you don't really care. It's like bluefin fishing or fishing out at sea for pelagics. You have to understand that there's a good chance that you don't even catch a fish. And you're okay with that because you weren't going out there to catch fish. You were going out there to catch certain fish or to catch big fish. And if you didn't catch any, that's okay. Because at any point you could throw, say you're going for big rockfish, and I'm throwing a 600-gram jig because I'm looking for a big one. If I don't catch any fish, I'm okay with that because you can always throw on two tiny ass hooks with little piece of squid on it and catch whitefish until the cows come home. Like there's definitely certain degrees of fishing. When you're going out bluefin fishing and that's all you're looking for, there's a damn good chance you don't come home with anything because it's kind of like that high risk, high reward. And that same mindset kind of happens in even spotty fishing and bass fishing, where I'm kind of at that point now where I'm looking for like the volume of fish isn't so important. Sometimes I'll get bored and I'll throw something small on just so I can catch something and get the skunk off. But I'm at a point where I'm okay if I don't go out and catch 20, 30 fish as long as I'm throwing something big and catching quality fish. There's definitely a place for that. So um, as long as you're within that mindset, catching the less fish or skunky is more acceptable because you have a purpose behind it. It's not like you're just trying to catch fish. You want a big fish. It's going to take time. You got to fish the big bait and you're going to have a lot more losses. You're going to have a lot more skunks because by proxy, they're harder to catch. But that's as long as that's something you're okay dealing with, that's okay. But not everybody's like that. Some people you just want to go out and enjoy your time and you just want to catch. That's perfectly fine too. And you may catch a big one in between it. But yeah, there's definitely a different mindset of just looking for that behemoth. You got to be prepared for it. And I feel like that's something that comes on down the road as an angler. When you've caught enough, you caught enough of the small ones, you're kind of like, okay, let's look for giants at this point. What's it looking for? Like when people are like playing, like big stars when they're playing for legacy or something, where they're not so concerned with the money anymore, but they want the titles and stuff. It's sort of similar to that, right? Like you chase your money when you're young, you go chase, get all the fish, get all the numbers, but as you start to progress, you're like, okay, let's get some big ass fish here. I don't know if I'm there yet. I'm still like I'm in that. I'm still in like that catching phase, right? I still like catching fish. Sometimes I'll look for the big ones and I get bored and I'll just like, all right, downsize a little bit or whatever. And sometimes I'll catch a few like little small calicos or something. Then I'm like, all right, put the big bait back on and try to get the beast. Yeah, like with ling cod, many times they're not even hooked. Once they're like 1 or 2 feet below the surface. Yeah, dude, they just go. Got to keep them where you can see them. Yep, that's true, man. Most fish are like that. Halibut are like that too. They're lazy. You don't fill them. They're a lot like the ling cod. But then once they see that boat, or you get them to the top of the water, yeah, they turn and burn and just make that run. Oh yeah, that's exactly right. That's a good way to put it. Big baits usually catch big fish. Little baits catch every fish. Yeah, it's true. I like big baits and I cannot lie. But if you're hungry, you throw down a sabiki and fry up whatever you reel in. I'm not at the cooking mackerel part of my life yet. Maybe next year. I gotta try some. Maybe I'll do like a catch and cook on one of my YouTube channels. Maybe I'll catch some mackerel and see if I can make them good. I have had mackerel before and I didn't really like it, but that could have just been the way it was prepared. The sea samurai mentality, yeah. Yeah, I know Kevin, man. When he does freshwater, he's all about those giant baits. Big fish for sure. Dude, I've seen 9-inch plus swim baits for spotties. No joke. Or even like hard baits that are massive. I mean, I've caught spotties on the bait barge on 100 plus gram jigs, dude, straight up. And those big sand bass too, like 80. Um, I caught a at the bait barge. What was it? We went on a trip. I think Salty, right? Were you with me and stuff? I threw a 130 gram slow down javelin, caught a fat ass sand bass like right there. I've done that like a few times, and we're talking 40 feet of water. They come up and smoke that thing, and these things have been huge too. So it was crazy because you can get the sand bass on the 60 grams, but the calicos too. I've got huge calicos like a 130 gram jig. They'll eat bigger than you thought. I just saw a somebody posted a I think it was like BD Outdoors. Somebody caught a tuna and they cut it open. Dude, there was like a yellowtail or something inside of it. And people were worried about like, oh, are they gonna eat a 600 gram jig? Dude, this fish was huge. And it was fully intact too. So it swallowed this thing. Fish are incredible in what they could eat. It's nuts. I think we get in this mentality that like I think we relate it to ourselves, right? Because like our mouths and our physio what is the word I'm looking for? Uh our physical traits are like so different. Um Physiology, like our mouths are small compared to what we can eat, right? Apples are huge and stuff like that. We take small bites of stuff. So I think when we see big jigs or that are bigger than a fish's mouth, we kind of relate in our mind like, oh, the small fishes, it's like a largemouth bass, some of these tuna, even spotted bay bass, like their mouth is almost opens like the size of their head. Like they can eat, and the way they swallow things, they can eat fish like half their size. It's crazy. They don't need like tiny little baits. They'll eat a lot bigger than I think we think they will. So we shy away from that a lot. That's just like a theory of mine. But I've seen fish eat some lures that I'm just like blows me away. I'm like, there's no I would have never thought they would have eaten that thing. Crazy. Oh yeah. Over 5 inches for sure. For spotties. Yeah, I've seen it. Big fish on small baits or on the swim for a quick meal going through the drive through. Big fish or for the big bait went to the buffet. Yeah, well that's kind of like that's the theory with like slow pitch jigging, right? Like is it like a you're just getting a reaction? Is it the reaction bite that triggers something in their head that forces the bite as opposed to them seeing something and hunting like a big bait? It's cool just the different techniques, man. They all work though. That's good. It could be Stim. One of the most famous micro fishermen on earth was here in SD. He never did catch a staghorn. Just one would have made his whole day. That's cool. I ate greenbacks as a kid. Grandma knew how to. Yeah, see, it's one of those things. The those big bass. is one of those things that's kind of stigmatized too, because it's like the spotty, right? Dude, everybody used to spotties. People used to eat spotties all the time, but they became a game fish, and now it's like taboo. And the bass too are like that. The greenbacks. I don't know if you're talking about like the mackerel, but like the bass, people used to eat the bass all the time too, and now it's like they're like everybody's like largemouth bass. People used to eat these things, but now it's like, oh, we don't eat those. Oh, they're gross and they're disgusting. Oh, not really, but it's become they. We've done a really good job of catch and release. Has really changed the sport and changed mindsets of people. And a lot of people that have caught these bass now, kids that have grown up and of age now and stuff like that, they've never eaten a bass. Probably never even would have thought of eating a bass. Their grandparents probably ate a whole bunch, but uh, really something was good. I think that's come out of the fishing scene. Is the catch and release has definitely helped the fishery. And but it's funny how it's been stigmatized. Like people think it's really gross. Like a lot of these fish aren't that gross. We've just decided not to eat them. Just need one bite, one to remember. Yeah, man. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. I think I got it. That's funny. Your eyes are bigger than your stomach. Yeah, I don't think for fish though. That's for sure. I probably caught 100 senoritas in the last 2 weeks. Nice. What are you using? Catch and release has killed big bass fishing around San Diego. Is that because they just eat all the other bass, Coach? I know you were talking about that one time. Is your dating game? Is that why, Coach? Because the big bass, right? Because they're just too predatory and destroying lakes. Yeah, man, that's a whole nother lexicon right there. That's crazy. Piece of shrimp. Awesome, guys. Well, anyways, we'll wrap it up. Hopefully, you guys learned something. I know the big fish maybe didn't have all the answers, but my recommendation: heavy gear, heavier than you would think. Be prepared for the fight. Bring the nets and probably a bigger bait is something they haven't seen before. I think if you're fishing something that everybody kind of knows about, the same soft plastic, you might not gonna have luck. There's a high likelihood that they've already seen it. So try something a little different. Try spots that are a little different, but be prepared for the fight. And just time on the water, guys. That's really all it's about. Coach nailed on that. Keep plugging, and eventually you'll land the big ones. But even with all the knowledge, God, there's still a pain in the ass to catch. But that's what makes it great, man. All you need is one. Get those photos. You remember it forever. Like the picture that I had on the thumbnail here, I think that won one of these plaques, largest spotty. Yeah, it was in heaviest spotty, spotty boy. I think it was 2021. So that was that picture right there, just on a slow pitch jig. I think it was probably a 20 gram. Yeah, right there on some of the pilings. It was like almost 3 pounds. I think it was fat as hell. And they don't come around very often, but yeah, that was awesome. But yeah, guys, if you have any topics for next week or anything you want to discuss, hit me up on Instagram, or you guys know where to find me again. Thanks for listening to me. And again, thanks again for always being nice to my mom on here. Thank you for all the channel members. If you guys want to support this stream, consider becoming a channel member. You guys can see here they got like the custom icons and stuff like that, and the emotes. You guys get some of that, some other perks. So I really appreciate it. If you guys want to buy jigs, submissionfishing.com. We got the new 10 and 15s out in kind of the freshwater colors, but they also work for saltwater. Check them out in tackle stores, Fisherman's Access, Dana Landing, Island Tackle. And thanks for all the support as always, guys. We'll get the audio sync fixed next time. Until then, go get your black belts in fishing, guys. Oos.